I am Daniela Fatarella. I'm the CEO of Save the Children in Italy. Save the Children is the largest independent non-governmental organization fighting for children's rights all over the world. And I'm here to prove that women are not at all the weaker sex.
Welcome to Unlimited, Daniela. Thank you so much for being here. So yes, women are often referred to as the weaker sex, but let's try to prove this stereotype wrong, okay? And I'd like to do it starting from the very beginning. Save the Children was founded by a woman in 1919, Eglantine Jebb, and more than a century ago, she decided to challenge the norms and the stereotypes of her time to defend the children considered the enemy. So I wonder how much of that rebellious spirit still lives in the women and the stories we're about to hear today.
I think Eglantine is always with us and within Save the Children. She was an incredible woman, very powerful, very capable of seeing things that others were not seeing at that time. She was very courageous because she was the very first one who said that children had rights. And she was also the very first one who said that investing in children is not charity, but it's a real investment in the future. And she was a woman after the very First World War, and she was defending children which were going under famine in Austria and Germany after the English embargo. And she was arrested because she was considered an enemy of her own state. But she founded the world's biggest organization.
So I wanted to ask you, when you started, did you have a role model who inspired you?
I think I have a special person in my heart. She was a person who was working in Uganda for our organization, and it was more than 25 years ago when I went there, and I thought that my place was there. And she welcomed me, and after 2 weeks, she was capable with a lot of curiosity and questions to make me understand that this was not exactly my place.
Okay, why?
Because I was too emotional.
Okay.
And I had other skills and capabilities, which were especially telling the stories and really making people understand what we do. And she advised me in which was my role in the nonprofit sector. And she made me who I am today. And I'm always very grateful that she told me where I was not capable of doing, and she showed me what I was capable of doing.
So once you said, when you invest in a woman, you change a child's life and often an entire community. So why are women the backbone of your organization?
For many different reasons. I would say that women in Save the Children are everywhere, from CEOs to country directors to health workers. But the reason why they are the backbone, you can see really in countries or in programs where you see their capacity, their strengths, their gentle force, and their understanding of what it is happening around her. They do have a lot of capacity of understanding the context and negotiating complex situations and bringing people together.
Well, that makes absolutely sense. We all know what Save the Children does, right? In fact, for Mother's Day this year, my husband gave me a charity gift that helped provide children with a full course of antibiotics. But not everyone knows who stands behind the stories that you produce every day. So why don't we try to take a journey together? But just to warn you, my Skyscanner is already pushing me towards one of the most complex places in the world. And I'd love to hear a story of courage from there.
Wow, I've listened a lot of different stories of courage, but I have to say that I have one in mind, which is very special for me, which was a young child in Egypt over 25 years ago. And when I met her, what was really impressive for me was the fact that she was only 10 and she was telling her story standing with a very strong voice and telling that she had convinced her mother and her grandmother not to do any infibulation to her. And the fact that it was coming from a child that age was very strong.
10 years old?
10 years old. But what she told for me was extremely important. She said that through the Save the Children program, she understood that she had rights. And one of her rights was the right to health. And she convinced her mother and grandmother. And when I asked and so what? She said, and now it's for my sister that I want to do the very same for her. And the look in her eyes and the strength in her voice, I will never, ever forget. And each time I'm in troubles and I think I'm going through a tough situation, I always think about her.
Remember about her.
Yeah, she's my courage.
I think that she could be the courage of everyone listening to this. And I guess the whole weaker sex narrative doesn't really apply here. When a woman rises in a place where doing so is considered inappropriate or even life-threatening, does that also somehow redefine what future generations believe is possible?
I do think so. I think that when a woman stands up against all bias and all stereotypes and all norms in her own environment, she shows up not only for herself, but for the community and for all the other girls. And again, a story comes to my mind, which is coming from Somaliland, which is another very tough place in the Horn of Africa, where I met this incredible lady. Her name is Ayan. And she's a humanitarian frontline worker, which means she's a person who's traveling village by village, supporting children and mothers against malnutrition. But you have to think that Somaliland is a very male place. And she negotiates every single access of the organization, as well as she's dealing with leaders that in all reality would ignore a woman.
Of course.
But the way she does it and the fact that she is so capable of engaging many other women in the communities is changing not only the present but the future. And girls are looking at her and are understanding they have a voice
to her.
And they can use their voice.
That's great. I mean, I guess not everyone is really familiar with Somaliland, but as far as I understood, it seems like there are unwritten rules about what women can and can do, what they can say, cannot say. So Ayan is actually really brave and breaks those rules every single day, and she does it with pride. And she's an example and an inspiration, I believe, for everyone, as you just said. But how is that received in our community?
I think that the way she does it, it doesn't accept any compromise. So she had to go through a lot of different challenges because you imagine a place where usually a woman doesn't go out alone or cannot speak in front of certain type of people or shouldn't do certain type of jobs, but she has a lot of competency. So she's very professional. So she knows what she's doing, and she's very, very passionate. So she broke the rules, and she accepted that she is not liked by everybody, but that she's also showing she doesn't care because she knows that what she's doing is important not only for saving lives, but for changing the attitude in the community, and especially for girls. She's a mentor.
That's amazing. We often think that breaking stereotypes comes from the outside, but can you tell us about someone who has done it from within and walk us through the obstacles she had to face?
This is coming actually from India, what comes to my mind, from Mumbai, which is another very special place, I would say, in terms of complexity and unwritten norms and rules on how women, especially women that are belonging from the poorest part of the society, should behave. And if you are a girl child in India, you learn very quickly that you have a special place in the world, which is to be silent and probably to be the last to be either educated or have the possibility to choose. And the girl that I met, she's a young advocate, which means that she really wants to spread the word that girls have a special place in the world, which is not to be silent and to be told what to do.
But how can she do that? I mean, how does she manage to do that? What is the thing that she actually does
She does
talks
two
with-
things.
Okay.
She does through education, which
Okay.
means really bringing children, girls, to community schools, but also to participate to activities where they understand that they have rights, that they have possibility and opportunities. And then she involves parents and community leaders, because the child is never alone. He or she grows up in a community, so you also have to involve. And through these
whole
two
community.
different dialogues,
Okay.
she's able of unlocking potential. And if you unlock potential and you show opportunities, children and especially girls, they know how to hook and
that.
really stick to that and make the best out of it.
Because I believe that there are so many taboos. Are the parents reluctant to, to listen to her, or are they okay with it, like right away?
I mean, her life is not easy, again, as the life of Ayan, because all these women are showing that they are not weak, but that they accept to face the challenge of really promoting and changing lives of others. So she's not at all listened at the very beginning, but also the fact that she's capable of entering in a negotiation phase, and she's able also to explain why things needs to change and why things could become better for the girls and then their families, makes the difference. And a lot of times she also unlocks economic opportunities for girls, because if they can get an education, that they
Then
can
they
work and then they can have an economic return, which
Be a
can be
little bit
shared.
more independent as well.
And support their families. And that, again, makes a huge difference.
Value.
So I think that what I've seen in these women around the world is that they understand the concept of having rights, of wanting to change not only their lives, but the lives of others. And they don't care if it is difficult. They know it is difficult.
And they do
they
it
want to
anyway.
do it because it is challenging.
That's impressive. But what happens to people, especially women, when they challenge deeply rooted stereotypes in environments like these?
They have to go through a lot of pressure because they are not welcomed in a way. So in many cultures, if you are a man and you want to open opportunities for others, you are seen as the savior. In many other contexts, if you are a woman and you want to unlock opportunities for others, you are seen as, why do you want to do it? Why don't you stay at your place? But the way women can unlock potential is the fact that they don't care only for themselves, but they care for their children and their communities. I was recently in Egypt where I met a Sudanese group of refugees, women.
Okay.
And one of them, she told me, is that if you support a woman, you support her entire community. And she fled from Sudan to Egypt. And Sudan is the worst crisis ever today in the world.
Yes.
And being a refugee is the worst condition you could find yourself. And if you are a woman, refugee,
it's even worse.
But I mean, she's doing, she has reinvented her life. She has been supported by Save the Children to open up a small shop. Now she is earning money for her family. And she said that she has discovered that she has a lot of attitudes that she didn't know to have before. And when she said she was so proud of what she was doing, and she wanted to show the way for her girls, for her children, and I mean, she wants to pave the way for the others who will come, that change is possible through your own strengths. So there is this capacity, and I think that's exactly the reaction that I had from that lady.
Yeah.
That you want to, that you feel she is an agent of change, an incredible agent of change.
Yeah, sorry, it's a bit moving story. So people tend to think Save the Children only saves lives abroad. But in Italy, is everything really fine?
We would love to say yes, but we cannot say that. So I would say that situation of children in Italy is still challenging. We have 1 out of 10 children in Italy that are living in poverty. And there are some places where these conditions are even more difficult. So if I take one of the program that I was much more impressed with, this is in Sicily, close to Ragusa. This is one of the biggest agriculture hub in Italy, and a lot of people, farmers that are living there, Italian and people with a migratory background, and there are a lot of mother and children that are living in very much isolated, in a very high level of poverty, with no access a lot of time to services and not even to education. And there I met another incredible woman. Her name is Anya. She's a Save the Children frontline worker, and she is the one who goes house by house, reaching these mother and children and proposing what we are offering in the territory. But what she does is really building trust and building bridges, and because again, if you want to support people, you have to know how to do it. It's not simply that you knock the door.
Exactly. But is it easy? Like, do these people live there from like a long time, or are they like seasonal? So is there a real community there? And how Save the Children managed to connect with these people?
There are over 6,000 people, so 6,000 people that are living there. They are not seasonal people, but they are stable over there because they work all year long. They live very isolated in the vast majority, which means that they live in their own communities. And for children especially, and mothers, there is very few to do apart from being at home and then going to school. But the fact that women can have access to spaces where they can learn Italian a lot of time, or share their own challenges among them, and for children to do something more than just going to school and staying at home or supporting their parents. But if you want to engage people, it's not simply by knocking the door, but it's a question of really showing possibilities which goes beyond their perimeter and is proposing something which can happen in the future, and also showing that they can trust you, that you will not put them into the spot and you will not leave them alone after 1 month or two.
So that they can trust you.
Yeah. So trust is really a key word. And Anya and many other women that I met around the world and in Italy too, is that they build trust and they can provide access then for children and for mothers to different opportunities, which can go from doing sports, going to library, going to the cinema, visiting a museum.
Besides working in the greenhouses.
Yeah, and this open up the vision of the future. Because if you are always in the very same environment, you think that the future is that environment because you haven't seen anything else. But when you are brought
discover that there's something else
that you can do and you want to do. So Anya is opening all these doors and opportunities. And for children that are living in such conditions, it can really change lives.
Of course.
So again, she's walking in green fields. She's walking and knocking to doors that are mainly male dominated. But again, she's not weak at all. No. She finds her own way. And the very interesting thing is that the very first people she engaged first are the men. Because then they will be willing to let women and children participate to activities.
And do they do that often, or?
They do often, not quickly, but they do it. It's just a question of having the right, I call it gentle force. So the capacity of really entering in contact with people, negotiating, having the patience to see things changing. Changing systems and culture doesn't come from one day to the other. So all the stories that I mentioned means that these women are really thinking through the type of change that they want to get for themselves and for the others. And they intentionally, relentlessly work on that. So these are really, for me, heroes. And when they do in an environment in which, in principle, they shouldn't be allowed to do it, it shows that women have, for me, a very special power, which is the capacity of being relentlessly intentional to achieve what they want.
It requires strength and power and will, a lot of things, and bravery.
Yeah, I think it requires a lot of courage, a lot of bravery, but it requires especially a lot of vision. And one of the main reasons why I guess women have this vision is because, again, they don't do it for themselves. They do it for the children, for the communities, for the future of their own states.
Yes.
So it's the very same thing that Eglantine Jebb did at the very beginning. She had the vision of what she wanted to achieve as an impactful and greater change. So women don't accept that things go in the way they go. Women are really rebel, and they really spend a lot of their own energies to fight.
When people think of Save the Children, they often picture healthcare workers in refugee camps. But when I looked at the range of professional roles, it broke a stereotype for me. In which fields do women work within your organization? A quick overview would be great.
I would say that women in our organization are working everywhere, every field, every level, everywhere. Women are in our organization, even in places like Afghanistan, where we have women that also keep working in a very challenging environment, but because they are so well educated and so professional and so intentional in not giving up for the future of other women. When we call women the weaker sex, and you think about all the women that I mentioned, they all risk their lives somehow.
Okay.
And a lot of times. Nevertheless, they don't give up.
Thank you. Okay, so I usually like to close every episode with a quick game where I start a sentence and you complete it. Okay? Ready? So, women give birth. They live on average 5 years longer than men. Have a higher pain tolerance and carry most of the world's caregiving work. So the weaker sex is? No, I'm joking. Sorry, I'm kidding. Try again. Women are not weak because?
Because they can generate an internal strength which is higher than anything else.
Thank you so much.